Hey there, my name is Feder, and I just turned 16 years old. Today's date is the 11th of February 2017. I had to start writing my story like every other kid that turns 16 in my tribe. We live very long lives and tend to forget our past over time. So writing every day, week, or month helps to keep track of our memory. I'm not sure how to address this thing. Some of my friends call it a diary. For me, I'll just pretend someone is reading it. How should I start? I guess let's start from the beginning. My mom called me Feather, and that was because of the unique feathers that kept growing in my hair. They're soft and made out of gold, but if taken away from their roots, they burn in blue flames. It was interesting since no one in my tribe had anything similar to that. They think this is both a blessing and a curse given by the moon. And about my tribe, we have a strong fighting spirit, unfortunately not by choice. Since we're not that many, we're often targeted for the slave market. Thousands of years ago we were hunted down and all we had were swords, bows, and horses, which, as you can guess, wasn't enough. One night, we somehow found a way to protect ourselves through the moon and the power of darkness. Unfortunately, no one remembers that time, so the details of how it happened were left in the past. All we know is that darkness creates strong protection for us, and with the moon's power, we build our weapons. But rather than the fighters choosing a weapon, the weapon chooses who to even be a fighter. Every fighter in my tribe was chosen to protect it. To qualify it as a fighter, only your spirit matters. Gender, features, or size was never important. Once you become a fighter, you're not allowed to leave the tribe. You could decline your title, but no one really does that. As I said, to become a fighter, you must be chosen. Your spirit needs to be strong enough to be selected by one of the sacred weapons. No one knows what those weapons are, or how exactly they're made. Only the craftsmen do. They usually wake up from a dream with the weapon of a future fighter. They make the weapon when the full moon touches the sea. With the strength of the night, they fuel the weapon with dark power. The moon grants each weapon different strengths. Some fighters fight it in minutes, while some seek it for years. Oh, mine? Well, mine are feathers. 5, to be more precise. I guess they're sharp and kind of cool. I've had them for some time now, and I still don't know what they do. The only thing I know for sure is that I can't seem to be able to lose them. They just keep coming back, and I don't mean in days, I mean immediately. I can't be separated from them. My uncle made them for me. He is a forger. I know the dream he had of me gave him some hesitation because he took a while to give me the feathers. My uncle never told me what his dream was. He just gave the feathers to my mom and left. I remember when I first got them, I was barely 10 years old. Even though this was a really young age to be selected for a fighter, it wasn't uncommon for us. I remember when I received them. I was crying. I thought they were so boring. My best friend got an obsidian bow and I got some chicken wings. It seemed so unfair to me. My mom told me it was because I was a young fighter, but so was he. He was only 3 years older than me. I started to accept my feathers after I tried throwing them in the sea. You can probably guess what happened. They came back, and you're damn right I tried again. But after failing about 100 times, I figured that I have to learn to live with them. However, I was so annoyed with them. I didn't know where to put them. I had to constantly carry them with me. I didn't really feel like wearing belts or gigantic pockets. They were getting in my way. However, I had to start thinking about a place to store them since my uncle told me it was time for me to make my outfit. I had no idea what I wanted, but I had to choose soon. When a warrior gets their weapon, they need to make their armor. Everyone's armor was, well, so ugly and heavy. Most fighters were going for full protection since we fight mages, tanks, and assassins. I personally love climbing and being on the high grounds, so I needed something light, and the full armor set just won't do it. Luckily, my mom helped me create my outfit. I got a long sleeve top that I chose to be red. I wanted to match my new eye color after all. Like everyone else, I recently passed my eye color transformation. All kids in our tribe are born with gray eyes. However, the chosen ones change their color before they get a weapon. Your eyes get to be either red or blue. My mom told me that the red color means that I can never leave the forest, while blue-eye fighters can venture outside of the protection of the mountain. Something connected with how the moon looks after us? I didn't really mind that since I love where we live, and I didn't want to be away from my home. I wanted to protect it at all costs. Anyway, back to my outfit. The rest of it contains black obsidian pants with cute little gold details. And since I always wanted to fly, I made myself a beautiful red scarf cape. No, I still can't fly. However, it is super cool. It wraps around my neck like a scarf and it goes all the way down to my knees. It also has a cool sharp edges with golden streaks. And let's not forget the perfect spot for my tail. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, my species have 2 main features, our long triangular ears and our tails. We all have the same ears, however only some families in my tribe get tails. They're super sharp on the edge, so most of us get a lot of scars until we learn how to handle them. We're born with soft edges, but as time goes by, they sharpen up. Every tail has a different coloring, but a similar shape. Mine is black and has a golden line. I guess to match my golden feathers, everyone that has a tail is giving a diamond, obsidian, golden, or silver ring. None of that actually mean anything, I think. Our tribe literally just decides which one of it fits us the most. You can probably guess what I got. Aurelia, our leader, is one of the oldest Vercuses, my species. She was with us for generations now, and I can say that she's just the best. She's very kind and understanding, and she never abuses her power. The only thing she's super strict about is keeping our blood clean. No one is allowed to have families with a different species. If they do, they're banished from the tribe, and if they were a fighter, they lose their weapon. It is harsh, but she does that to protect us. Long time no see, I guess. As I turned 17, my mom made me ride again. I really don't know why is this so important. I can use this time to do training. I'm still stuck with those stupid feathers. I can't understand what they do. Everyone's improving their skills and advancing their training, and here is me. I was so behind I got left out of my training group, and my mom has to teach me. She's a retired fighter, so she was eligible to be my personal coach. She's super strict and I just can't stand her anymore. I can't wait to catch up so I don't have to deal with her methods. She's not even letting me ride Catastor because I might hurt him. And let me not even start on Max. He's so annoying with his big bow and eagle. I bet he hopes something else is big as well. Ah, that feels nice. I should vent here more often. On a serious note, I am really stuck with these feathers. It's been so long and the only thing I know about them is that they kept teleporting back to me somehow. I hope I can figure them out soon. I want to be the best fighter there is, and without my weapon, that's not really possible. I also think it would be cool to fight alongside Max. He's an archer and I'm a melee? I'm not sure yet. Max and Cherry have been my best friends since I was born. I really want to keep up with them. Max and I got to be fighters while Cherry didn't get selected. However, I think she never wanted to be one. She's so innocent and fragile. On the other hand, Cherry is super intelligent. She's currently debating if she wants to be a teacher or a healer. I believe that being a healer will fit her more. I don't see her teaching young kids, and this is the only type of teacher she can be. To be a professional teacher and teach specific roles, you need to be retired from it. For example, only retired miners, farmers, and builders can teach future miners, farmers, and builders. Being a kids teacher means you introduce the young generation to the world and teach everyone what to do and what not to do. Sometimes you also guide them to their future choices. All that seems really cool, but she hates kids. Oh, and speaking of the devil... Oh wow, it's been over a month now. I kept trying to come back to the notebook, but there wasn't anything to write about. However, something really important happened recently that is worth mentioning. As you already know, I've been having trouble with my feathers. My mom was trying really hard to help me figure out how they work. She knew I was struggling and getting discouraged, so even though she was one of the best fighters, she made the decision to retire and train me. My mom kept me on a strict training schedule, but from time to time, she also allowed me to train with Max. She knew we were mostly messing around, but to be honest, I needed that. I was so obsessed with figuring out what my weapon does that I almost forgot how to be a teenager. It was also a nice break from all the exhausting exercises. One day, Max, Cherry, and I went to the training ground in the forest. As we were messing around, Max decided to be an asshole and he started a back and forth fight, until he crossed the line. He was confidently leaning on one of the training dummies as he said, "You should listen to me. I'm the better fighter after all. I know how to use my weapon." He looked at me proud of himself with soon-to-be wiped smirk on his face. As he said that, I threw my feathers towards the dummy, landing right next to his face. He was intimidated, but not impressed. As Cherry gasped, he shot an arrow at me. Of course, we both knew that I would react fast enough to save myself from it. However, the way I saved myself was rather surprising to all of us. In a panic, I did something to my feathers. They flew right back to me, shattering the arrow into millions of pieces. I was not prepared for that, and I got hit by 3 of my own feathers. I was taken by surprise, not by Max, but my own feathers. Covered in blood, I was jumping and cheering. Cherry ran towards me while giving Max the most judgmental look there is. And yes, I was definitely in a lot of pain, but I was also very happy. Even though I didn't know what I did it. While I was smiling, Cherry was extremely worried about me, trying to heal my wounds in the middle of nowhere. When she caringly patched me up, she helped me stand up and head back to the village. Nobody really talked on the way back, but we all knew that I finally progressed. After that fun experience, it took me about a week to fully heal up. Cherry was by my side the whole time, taking care of me. I think she finally decided she wanted to be a healer. Max, on the other hand, came to me not to apologize, but to tell me I owe him a favor because of him I was able to figure out what my feathers do. And yeah, I beat him up. It's been a while since our last talk. I'm 3 months away from turning 19. A lot has happened actually. Most of my classmates graduated. I walked on Max and Cherry having a woohoo time, and I finally learned how to manage my feathers. I know that was a lot to process, so let me go into details. As you know, we're constantly threatened by other tribes. Since we live longer than any species, we're great for the slave market. You know, you get more for your buck. Meaning that as Vercuses, we're constantly facing battles. All I knew my whole life was that we're always in danger. When I learned I'm a fighter, all I wanted to do was fight those assholes and make them pay for what they've done. However, no one is allowed to do that until they conclude their training and defeat their teacher. Or at least get close to it. And yeah, I was screwed. My teacher was the top fighter for years. While everyone was allowed to go out and kick some butts, I was staying home in the ring trying to create a master plan to defeat my mom. I was ashamed to even mention how many times I failed. In the end, I did it. I'm not even sure if it was fair. I think she knew I was so above my classmates, it wasn't fair to keep me stuck inside when I could be helpful out there. So she let me win. Don't get me wrong, I had the skill to beat everyone else, just not my mom. When all of that embarrassment was over, I was finally introduced to my flock. I'm not sure why they call it that, since we're not exactly birds, but it fits my feathers, I guess. I used to be with Max. In his group, there were already 4 more people. 2 twins and 2 that I really don't want to talk about. The twins are really interesting. They came from a pretty big family. Their father is a forger and also my uncle. The poor man had to have 6 kids before he had a known fighter child. Vercuses can only become forgers if they were born not a fighter in a family of at least 1 forger. Because of that, our tribe requires forger families to have at least 1 forger child. My uncle didn't have that luck until his 6th. He ended up with 2 pairs of twins and then 2 more kids. 2 hunters, a horseman, a melee, a scout, and finally a forger. The first 5 are all fighters with different roles. Every fighter can choose what they want to be. Sometimes your weapon chooses for you. For example, Max has a bow. This means that if he wants to be an actual fighter, not a scout or a hunter, he has to be either an archer or a horseman. Horsemen are tricky since you need to be able to afford one of those creatures. Scouts and hunters are pussy fighters if you ask me. If you get chosen to be a fighter, but are also afraid to be in a battle, you can become a hunter if you don't have a tail, or a scout. Tails are way too useful on the battlefield to be trapped in a hunter role. If you're wondering what I am, well, I'm not sure. I'm not really a range since I don't have that much range as the archers or cannoners, but I'm also not a melee since I throw feathers. However, I'm not the only one that doesn't have a specific role. I have a friend that has a whip for a weapon. She's in the same boat as I am. We're just called fighters. I learned a lot about my feathers over the past 1 year. At first glance, they're just like daggers, sharp and fast. You throw them and it leaves a nasty scar. However, what is quite fascinating is the callback. I can recall my feathers. They will tear through anything just to get back to me. They can't get stuck, and trust me, we tried. As a fighter, I need to know what my weaknesses are. My mom and I tried several different ways of trapping them. Caves, bags, and cages. Nothing can stop them. They navigated through the caves, ripped the bags, and blinked out of the cages. And people say dogs are loyal. Enough with the boring stuff. Let me share some drama. The day I won against my mom was the best day ever. As you can imagine, the battle happens in the private settings, with the teacher, the student, and the main guard. Unfortunately, Max and Cherry couldn't see it happen. After the battle concluded, I rushed to tell them. We had a secret spot in one of the forest caves. I was hoping to find them there, and I did. I walked in, I really didn't expect to see what I saw. And all I said was, "Oh damn, nice," and left with a huge smile. I always thought they fit each other. I was close with Max, but I never had feelings for him, so I was genuinely happy for them. I just hope they don't forget me, or even worse, become a third wheel. Later that day, we had celebration dinner that my mom prepared for me. She invited everyone. Max and Cherry were so awkward, it was priceless. My 21st birthday party was brutally interrupted by a rushing messenger. He barged inside the halls, and with eyes full of sweat and tears, he looked up at the throne. Everyone stared at his trembling body. Aurelia glanced at him and nodded, allowing him to speak. What came off his mouth was not a dream birthday present. He shared the most horrifying news. A war was coming. It wasn't any ordinary war. It was a war with an unknown approaching enemy. All we were told that night was that there was no one left to tell the story. Our leader excused herself from the party. Even as the celebration continued, it was not the same. Fear and worry were settling in everyone's mind. Days passed with no updates. Everyone grew more and more curious and worried. We knew Aurelia was up to something because of the multiple trips she had outside the gates. Day and night she was living with small groups of guards. They weren't forming ordinary groups. They were wearing war armor and carrying our flag. I knew they were building an alliance, but with who? My mom came home one day with news I was not allowed to share. She was joining the army again, but this time as the right hand of our leader. She looked me straight in the eyes and asked me to prepare. She said nothing else afterwards, but I knew nothing would be the same. After several sleepless nights, I collected myself and started my excessive training. I wasn't allowed to share my worry with Cherry and Max, but I did manage to convince them to practice more. Even though Cherry wasn't a fighter, she needed to be prepared for the war. She was spending most of her time in the library with her teacher, while Max and I were training with the other fighters. Day after day, we were preparing for something we didn't understand. We had no news from our leader or from our scouts. They were ordered to never leave their posts unless allowed by the head scout. Scouts were up in the trees day and night looking for it, the enemy. Some started calling it the unknown, others called it Sianka, meaning a shadow. Rumors started flooding our tribe, most of which brought more panic to our world. Aurelia knew she needed to step up, and she did. Soon enough, she made a public announcement. It wasn't easy for us. She confirmed our worries. The enemy was approaching. However, no matter how many scouts we sent, no one came back. We did not know what was coming, but we knew we have to be ready. Armies flooded our small town, armies of people we once hated. I understood why she kept the alliance a secret. Most of us didn't like it, but Aurelia knew that we wouldn't stand a chance alone. If we want to defeat our enemy, we need to befriend our foes and stand together against the unknown. She said it as people started mumbling. Soon the tribe agreed to feed and take care of the ones that used to kill us. We knew the decision was hard and necessary. We had trust in our leader. This trust is what kept us going. Soon, everything drastically changed. Our small training camp became a battle arena. Our quiet library became a planning room. Everyone was filled with uncertainty and fear. However, everyone was quiet, for now. Like everyone, I continued restlessly practicing and overthinking. I noticed I started to split myself from the world. I was closing myself in a bubble so small I couldn't even breathe. Even though my mom was busy, she could see me wither. She asked me to prepare a catastrophe for her. Since I more or less mastered my weapon, she knew she could trust me with him. And she made the right call. The moment I started writing again, everything melted away. The endless feeling stopped. I was feeling free again. Well, inside the safe zone, that is. Catastor is a magnificent creature that my mom saved years ago. I would love to tell you that story if I make it out alive. However, for now, I want to focus on the preparation we had to do. While Aurelia was busy with the alliance, my mother was in charge of the army configuration. She had to arrange and balance every tribe and nation to lower the risks of weak spots. She had to consider everyone's skills. Since this was not an ordinary war, we couldn't simply put melees up front and archers behind. Dozens of armies tried that, and all that was left was a dark trail of death. We worked side by side with so many warriors I can barely remember anyone's name. Days passed, then weeks, then months, preparing day after day and night after night. As the Sianka slowly approaches and leaves nothing behind, we're possibly living our last days together. And being so close to death, I can tell you I've never appreciated what I have as much as I do now. Every day spent with my mom, Max, and Cherry are like a gift from the moon. Knowing I might never see them again crushes me. However, my mom, on the other hand, knows we're prepared. She doesn't seem afraid of the unknown. I've always looked up to her because of this. She's my hope. After presenting her plan in front of all of us, we knew we stand a chance against this thing. She calculated everything to the last possibility. Even if everything fails, she has created a master escape plan through the mountain. We're once again fired up and ready to take our enemy. It's time to stop the killing once and for all. It's a big day tomorrow. Everyone was ready. We set up camp near the fighting zone. I'm writing this as a goodbye in case I don't make it out. Whatever happens, I'm grateful for it. The moon will decide our fate. She saved our lives and she can take them away. I'm grateful for what I have and what I had throughout my life. As a tradition, we said our goodbyes today. This helps us accept death if it catches us. Yes, I'm scared, but I'm ready. This thing is devouring our land and people. I can't let that continue. One way or another, I will stop it even if it costs me my life. Whoever is reading this, I hope I see you on the other side. I made it out. I feel like the only way to fully explain what happened is if I start from the beginning. As the moon hid behind the mountains, we were ready. Fighters and warriors from every race, tribe, and species were side by side. Our differences and past did not matter. However, the thing that connected us was not a friendly fairy tale. No, it was the hate towards the same enemy. When I look around, I could see so many unfamiliar faces. I could also see friends and family. I could see my mom in the front line riding Catastor, both in beautiful silver armor. I could also see Max. He was in the back line with obsidian armor and his trusty bow. And here is me, miles away from them, surrounded by people I barely knew. I could see the fire in everyone's eyes as the Shadow Army approached us. The Dark Army stopped and waited. I couldn't identify a species or even a shape. Every warrior was a constantly changing shadow. There was also something else. Even from afar, I could see a black liquid trail underneath their feet. I wasn't sure what it was. I thought it was the shadow of the shadows of some sort. My thoughts were interrupted by the speech of our leader. It was hard to hear, but the feeling of power flew and spread through the whole army as everyone started to fire up. Everyone with their own war call. Calls we used to hear on the opposite side of the field. This didn't matter. We were here now, right in front of the unknown, face to face with death, and we're ready. The army of Xianka approached us first. A warrior charged up before our leader made the call. He slashed the first enemy. You could hear powerful shouts coming from every corner. The first enemy was dead. Or we thought. Xianka's warrior lifted from the ground as a dark glob and consumed our warrior. After the burning screams, there was nothing left of him. Shock slashed everyone's hearts. Afraid or not, we were here. We heard the horn and charged. With thoughts of that, we fought more brutally than expected. It seemed like we were winning. Shadows were falling on the ground and fading to the side. Our army was ripping through their composition. It was a little too easy. I had the feeling I was being watched. You know that weird feeling you get at night when you turn your back towards the door? I knew there were people behind me, but it was different. I looked back and I froze for a moment. As people were bashing into me, I was just staring behind us. They weren't dying. They were reshaping, waiting. We were trapped. In a panic, I tried to warn everyone, but I couldn't. It was too loud. No one was listening. I had to move to the side to avoid getting trampled. I took the war horn and blew it as hard as I could. I was relieved when my mom turned around and noticed me and the forming behind us enemy. However, it was too late. I took my feathers out of my hair and went back in trying to fight amongst everyone. Chaos set on the warfield. Xianka was slipping through every side and every soldier. We were surrounded. There was no blood. Everyone around me was just simply consumed by it. I couldn't see or recognize anyone. As the retreat horn was blown, everyone headed to the forest. The remaining soldiers remembered my mom's evacuation plan and took the path to the mountain. But Xianka was fast. Too fast. I was running. I knew it was catching up. I could feel it bleeding in my neck. I looked up and jumped into the trees. The thick crowns covered me. I hid behind the leaves and branches and waited. All I could hear were screams. I felt so powerless. I left them. The same episode ran through my head over and over again. Cherry. As people were retrieving, they left the wounded behind. She tries to save them. She went back for them. Only to get... I'll never see her again. I was interrupted by Cataster's whining. I looked down. He was chased by one of the shadows. My mom? She wasn't on him. I looked around and couldn't see anything. Everything was quiet, like nothing ever happened. All I was able to see was a sea of death. A dark mist was covering the ground. I could see small pieces of the glob that were slowly consuming the surroundings and growing bigger. And all I could do was run as high as I can. And now I'm here, on the edge of a mountain, alone and scared but full of anger. I should have died with them. I should have saved them. But how? This thing doesn't fucking die. Please, Moon, give me power to avenge my fallen brothers and sisters. Give me strength to rip Xianka into pieces so small it can't come back. As I rolled out, I felt myself levitating off the ground. As I looked down, I could see Xianka reaching out to grab me. The moon was shining, brighter than ever. I knew it was saving me, but then I stopped. Xianka reached me and wrapped around me. I could feel the burning flames scattering through my body. Scared by my screams, Raven flew up in the sky. From up here, they looked like small flies. I could feel it was over. I couldn't take the pain and everything went black. I woke up and opened my eyes. I wasn't dead. I was still high in the sky, but I felt light. I wasn't being pulled up anymore. I looked around. I saw wings behind me. I turned around ready to fight. There was no one there. The wings followed me. I turned around again. It took me a while until I realized it was me. I looked different. My outfit burned from the flames of Xianka. However, I wasn't naked. I had thick material wrapping around my body. It looked like a suit. I felt angry and tried to remove it. The tenser I got, the harder it was to remove. When I finally gave up and relaxed, so did the outfit. It was alive. I was finally not alone.